Well, it is my absolute pleasure to introduce today's speaker, Morwenna Collett, who is an access consultant. Now, Morwenna and I believe we just met through LinkedIn.
That's the kind of nerds we are, Rosie.
Yes. And we've met a couple of times online, and it's actually our first time meeting in person, which is so excellent. And I'm so excited to have you here. I know Morwenna is going to talk a little bit about herself as well. But Morwenna is an access consultant and a disabled musician, and is going to share a range of exciting projects and initiatives helping increase access and inclusion in the arts across Tasmania. You're going to hear about her work done by Mona, Dark Mofo, the Tasmanian Symphony Orchestra, the Unconformity, Events Tasmania, and more as well. So we're getting a real charcuterie board of the arts events going on in Tas and what accessibility is being considered as well. So Morwenna is currently working with Arts Tas to deliver a suite or a charcuterie board of capacity building activities.
Rename the project.
Yeah. Accessibility charcuterie board. Capacity building activities designed specifically for arts organisations and artists. And so, yes, it's going to be very exciting. And I'm so excited to welcome Morwenna. So come on up and you'll be able to change your slides for yourself. All right. Okay.
Aw, thanks so much, Rosie. Really nice to be with you all this evening. Thank you very much for having me. I've been kind of fangirling about these events from afar. I should sort of start with a confession that I am a mainlander, but I do have a strong connection to Tasmania, and was really happy. I'm here for work this week, and was really happy that dates lined up so that I could join you for this meetup, because I think it's a really fabulous thing that you're doing with the community here. So let's jump into it. I think my plan for what I thought I'd chat to you about tonight is starting with just a little bit more about me. I got to skip the intro before, so hold on to your hats. I've got a bit more to kind of tell you about me shortly. And then, as Rosie said, really keen to share some of the great work that's been happening in the accessibility space in arts and culture across the island, because I think there's been some real momentum in the arts sector around this over the last couple of years here. And then I wanted to share a bit of information about a project that Amalia and I are working on with Arts Tasmania that'll be sort of coming up over the next 9 months or so, and it'd be great to share that project with you, and there might be ways in which you might want to join us on that journey and get involved in some of the events and things that we have coming up as well. And then, yes, it'll be all about pizza after that. Oh, yes, and I'll just, actually, I might let someone more technical than me do the admitting. That's all right. Thank you. Thank you, Matthew.
I think it's just I have to do it later. Yeah, I don't know why.
Should we just maybe unshare again, or no? Might be the.
We're figuring that out. Whenever if you see me on my phone, I'm taking notes.
Oh, all good. And really happy, Rosie, if you want to share the slides afterwards, if that's helpful with people, for people too. So yeah, I'll just jump in and tell you a little bit about me. So I'm a consultant. I work with mostly arts and culture organisations, and I work mostly in disability access, but also in those broader areas of diversity, equity and inclusion. And I've been a consultant for about 5 years or so, and had a long career working in government and arts funding agencies before that. Many of, that's all right.
Second. Audio has significantly reduced. So
I'll use the handheld.
Yeah,
yep. No worries.
It's because I praised all your tech before.
That's right. All right.
For the folks online, is this better now in terms of audio?
Yeah, quite a bit louder.
Okay. Okay, no worries. We're going to switch to the handheld mic rather than the lapel, but thank you.
Amazing. And just to let you know about the slides are, we'll share those afterwards. There's not a huge amount of, not a huge amount of text on the slides, and anything that's on the slides I'll read out or talk to just for access reasons as well. Yes, so I, like many other people in this amazing group, am a proud disabled person and also the carer of a neurodivergent little person. So access and inclusion is something that's a big part of our family life, and something I'm learning about every day. My little person keeps me honest and accountable to all things in neurodivergent land as well. So yeah, I've been doing this having your own business thing, which is a wild and exciting ride. Sounds like there are many others in the boat, that same boat here as well. And I suppose kind of thinking back for me, part of the reason of doing that is we do know that many workplaces aren't really that accessible, and a lot of disabled people actually carve out their own careers through self-employment. I think there's a statistic saying something like people with disability have a 40% higher rate of self-employment than people without disability. So for me, that was in part around wanting to have the flexibility to be a mum, but also to be able to work around my own access requirements and have the sort of flexibility that I need to do the things that I need to do. So I love it. I love the variety. I love the wild and exciting ride that it is. And I can't ever quite imagine going back to an organisation, but let's see what happens with that in the future. So as I said, I work sort of primarily with disability access, but with those other areas as well, diversity, equity and inclusion. And I think obviously some really interesting conversations happening around those acronyms internationally and globally at the moment, with things going on in the US and further afield. There's lots of different acronyms, and I suppose I really like one that's cropping up a little bit more often now, which is ADEI, DEI, or also IDEA. But I think often disability can kind of get forgotten in the diversity, equity and inclusion conversation. So I love making sure that we can throw an A in that acronym somewhere wherever possible. And yeah, I've just got on the slide, I guess, some examples of how I view some of those words and what they're about. And, for me, accessibility and access is really about removing barriers to participation and about who is included or not included. Diversity, I think, is around all the amazing variety of differences that we've got among people, and also about representation as well. Equity, I think, is around recognising that people have different needs and we need different resources and opportunities to get an equal outcome. And that big word inclusion, and gosh, doesn't that get used a lot and can mean lots of different things to many people. But I think for me, it's around ensuring people with different identities feel welcome and valued, and that people have a sense of belonging and feeling like they're in a place they belong. So I guess as a consultant, I get to do lots of different things. Worked with lots of different organisations on different sorts of projects. As I said, mostly in kind of arts and culture, and also screen now. I'm seeing there's quite often we're now getting a blend between the arts and screen, and I kind of think that's healthy, because I think there are things that we can learn from screen and the arts, and things that the arts can learn from screen. Like a lot of consultants, I do a fair bit of government work as well, work with universities and peak bodies, and sometimes other random fun organisations. I just finished a project with Taronga Zoo, and on the slide I have a picture of me with Jimmy the giraffe, and a bunch of incredible people that were helping us craft an assistance animal policy for that zoo, which was a really interesting challenge around animal welfare. And of course, the rights of people with assistance animal handlers. So yeah, I think for me, one of the best bits of kind of working for yourself is that variety. And I suppose, yeah, just to give you a little bit of a sense of some of the sorts of things I do, I think lots of us wear that consultant hat, but mostly I kind of work in the strategy and planning end of things. So a lot of disability action plans, diversity, equity, and inclusion plans, different types of access audits, whether that's for online spaces or on-site spaces. Mostly online access auditing I get other people to do because that's not my favorite thing, and there are people that are much better at it than me. And I do a lot of facilitation and co-design work with deaf and disabled people as well, research and evaluation, and speaking and training and writing and those sorts of things too. So never does a day ever look the same. And of course, it's not work that I can do alone, and I've got an amazing team of different subcontractors that I work with on different projects. So very pleased to be working with Amalia on this Arts Tasmania project. And I think because the disability community is so broad and we have so many different types of lived experience, that's something I've really consciously built into my team of collaborators and the people that I work with on different projects. So yeah, very conscious to make sure that we draw in different types of lived experience and intersectional lived experience as well. Yeah, I feel like this has just become all about me. So let's kind of skip over that. But on the slide, I've got some examples of different clients I've worked with. We'll look at some Tasmanian examples soon. One kind of national project I've been working on recently, which might be of interest to tell you about, is a project called Admit All, which was developing some national standards for the live music industry for festivals and events. So I was lucky enough to do a Churchill Fellowship sort of 5 years ago, and I met this great organisation. Excuse me. Matthew, could I trouble you for a glass of water? I think I'm nearly out. I met this great organisation in the UK called Attitude is Everything, and it's essentially a music service organisation focused on disability, and they have this thing called the Access Charter, which has a gold, silver, and bronze kind of accreditation system around accessibility, which I really like because, as we all know, there's no such thing as you're an accessible festival or you're not. There's different. Thank you very much, Matthew. There's different kind of layers and levels and ways to be accessible. So I thought that was really interesting, and we got some funding from Sound New South Wales, which is our sort of peak funding body for music in New South Wales, to develop a pilot of that we're rolling out in New South Wales with a range of festivals and venues at the moment. And I think that's going to be really interesting to see sort of if that shifts the landscape of the music industry through that project over time. Sort of following on from that, I'll shortly be starting a project working on a national code of practice around developing some national accessibility standards for arts, screen, and gaming, which I think is really interesting. And that's something that's a commitment out of the new arts and disability strategy called Equity. And so, yeah, I think that'll be kind of really interesting to see sort of, yeah, how our expectations of arts and culture, screen and gaming organisations sort of shifts around accessibility over time. But let's talk about Tassie, because that's where we are and what we want to talk about tonight. So as I said, I think there's been some really great momentum here on the island around, I guess, acknowledging that there are a lot of disabled people living in Tasmania, and there are many different ways in which arts organisations need to be engaging with community, whether that's the artists they work with, the audiences that they attract, or their workforce as well. And I thought I'd give you a few examples of kind of recent access things on the island that I've come across that might be of interest. Mona obviously tends to be, something that springs to mind fairly quickly, and they've been doing some work in and around accessibility for a number of years. They did put a tunnel in finally, so you can now get from the ferry terminal to the museum via a tunnel and then a lift, which, I mean, why they didn't build it like that in the first place, who knows? But the original kind of premise, I think, my understanding was that David Walsh had this kind of stairway to heaven kind of vibes coming up from the ferry to the museum. But obviously there are 99 stairs there, and that was a huge access barrier. So it's really good to see they've addressed that. They've got an interesting partnership with an organisation here in Hobart called Hamlet, and they are doing work placements and I think also working in the cafe and bar on site. So that's really great. The O, from what I understand, has some good accessibility features built in, and I know they've been working on things like having an access map in terms of where there might be more sensory overload or lower sensory areas across the museum now available, that information now available through the O. They've been doing some things like having quieter times at the museum published. So not kind of set relaxed sessions, but times when the museum is more likely to be quiet. Apparently they will do access tours on request. I haven't tried that myself, but I know they have done some. And they've been doing, well, back in the day when they sort of had a few more live events through things like Monofoma, they were starting to do some Auslan interpretation and other access services as part of their events. So as with all things Mona, I think things shift and change quite a lot, but I'm really excited to see some of the kind of investment in capital works and built environment access that's been happening at Mona. And I should say, if anyone's got any questions or anything they want to chat about as I go through, please feel free to do so. Otherwise, it just becomes a Morwenna lecture, which is fine, but may not be the most interesting use of your Wednesday night. So do feel free to jump in with questions or comments.
Say that I was at that Peaches gig. Hi, Bonnie speaking. I was at that Peaches gig, and I am not a deaf person, but holy hell, that interpreter just lifted the whole performance. It was absolutely incredible. It was so much fun. So just another example of how making things accessible for everybody lifts everybody up and gives everybody better experiences. It was just so good. I loved it so much. So hopefully we'll see more of that. And I was surprised not to see that at the most recent Dark Mofo, actually.
Yes, yeah, they've taken a backward step this year, I think.
Yeah.
And that Peaches gig was something that I can't remember the exact stats, but I think it was the thing they got the most amount of media attention for nearly from the whole festival, is just, the attraction of that particular Auslan interpreter that was obviously such a great match for the performer they were interpreting for. So just goes to show how important that matchmaking is between performer and access service as well.
Rosie speaking. I'm just going to interrupt there. If there's anyone online who has a question, please feel free to just call out. We just can't see the chat in a really clear place at the moment. So if you want to ask a question, please feel free to call out. We will be able to hear you. So just do that as well. Thank you.
Please do. Please do. Speaking of Dark Mofo, so yes, there's been things that they've been doing some years and not doing other years, but some highlights that I'm aware of that have been happening down here is they have sort of made a real commitment to making Winter Feast more accessible. So it's had a visual story for the last 2 years. They had a quiet space for Winter Feast last year, which I think was really successful. Unfortunately, they didn't keep doing it this year, but anyway, a start. And they've had some really strong partnerships as well. So I know they've been working with the young leaders of Tasmania for running a number of different relax sessions of Winter Feast. And in fact, Vaughan, who was on this call here, did some great audio description for them last year. I don't know, Vaughan, if that happened again this year. But that was really terrific to see that happening last year.
If I can just jump in here, Morwenna, lovely to see you again.
Please.
It's been a few
You
years.
too.
I did do the audio description this year. I didn't voice it. I recorded and produced it. So audio description was certainly done this year. There has been, to my mind, a significant retrograde in Mona's accessibility in the last couple of years. Olivia Bowman, who was managing all of their accessible stuff, left partway through last year, about this time last year. And there was a stated commitment to keep the pressure up, but I don't feel like it's really happened. So I would urge people in this group who have relationships with Mona, and I must admit I need to do the same thing, but keep the pressure up, because it is important that we keep the momentum going, because they were doing really well for quite a while there.
Really good point.
Right, right. David Cawthorne here, if you don't mind me jump. We've got Vaughan's involved in this as well. We've had a good relationship with the Hobart City Council Access Advisory Committee. We've done a lot of work with Dark Mofo and stuff. Getting back to Olivia, her job got redundant, restructured. So they decided that they didn't need a person that, what would you say, a disability project officer or whatever you want to. That was one of her number of roles that Olivia had with Mona, with Dark Mofo and everything else like that. They decided they didn't need that anymore, and they really haven't replaced her in a manner of speaking. But I've also given Dark Mofo advice on Winter Feast. I thought they were going to bring the quiet space back again, but I don't know what happened there.
I saw a small quiet space, but I don't know what it was like before, but it was a little box at the front entrance. But it looks, I don't know what it's like before, but it looks a little bit intimidating, actually.
Well, I've actually got a meeting with Dark Mofo next week, so I might bring that up, Amelia, if you like.
Excellent. Thank you. Thanks, team. I can see James has got his hand up, so we might go to James, and then I'll keep moving just so we don't let Mona hijack our whole evening.
No, that's okay. Thanks, Morwenna. So, yeah, I mean, that's the thing, like the mention of there being some good access before and then it sort of dropped off. And I guess that's the challenge we've constantly faced within the arts community in Tasmania, is the government sort of, and groups get quite excited for a very short period about access, and then funding might come in temporarily and the stuff will happen, but then it disappears again, it drops off. And I know when we had the Arts and Disability Fund through Arts Tasmania for about 2 and a bit years, at that stage, like before that fund came in, our community sort of reference group that recommended it had recommended that in disability action plans were submitted by all organisations, and they only then imposed it on organisations that were disability run. And so that's what we need to see changes. And I mean, there's more a move towards access and inclusion plans now. And I mean, people have thought, well, that could be the solution. But I mean, as we know, with a lot of those, the disability ends up becoming the sort of add-on to those and not the primary. And so we've got to have other measures in place as well to ensure that. But I mean, I think for all of these organisations, whether it be through Arts Tas or events, if they're getting funding to run public events, they need to be submitting disability action plans before they get the funding. And there needs to be some way of monitoring that as well.
Thanks, James. Thank
That's all
you.
right.
Yeah, lots to unpack in all of that. I think just to summarize briefly, I think, access is often kind of people driven. And I think we've seen that with Mona and things like Olivia leaving. I think, yes, funding is very cyclical. And one of the real issues here with the arts in Tasmania is it is chronically underfunded. And a lot of the organisations that are in receipt of organisational funding, haven't had an uplift for a very long time, haven't had CPI. So, kind of keeping the doors open is a real challenge. And how do you embed accessibility in that when
Yeah.
there are other challenges on orgs as well? I'll keep us moving due to time, but yes, I think lots to kind of think about there. And I love that kind of call to arms in terms of let's keep on some of our big Tasmanian organisations, particularly Dark Mofo. They got a huge funding increase this year, and then the access, did drop away this year. So yeah, any advocacy and kind of anything we can do to kind of push the message would be great. Another festival moving to the northwest, the Unconformity Festival, beautiful festival coming up. It happens every 2 years, coming up again this October. They did their first access plan 2 years ago, and I thought they were a really interesting example of a more remote festival doing what they can in terms of disability access. They do a lot of site-specific work in some really tricky locations, like an old disused quarry, a gravel football field, all sorts of weird and wacky places. And they really did what they could around things like having a quiet space. They did some good work on web accessibility, getting on board with the Sunflower program, large print versions of things, and really prioritising kind of seating and rest spaces, which festivals often don't do. So I think they're a really interesting one. Also in the North, Junction Arts Festival. I know last year, I think it was, they engaged an access officer for the first time. Did some good work around assistance animals and offering relaxed performances and Auslan interpreted events for the first time. Looking at things like accessible ticket pricing. I think that I was just talking today with Moona Arts Centre, and we were talking about, I guess, financial accessibility and noting that kind of crossover between disability community and lower socioeconomic access as well. So ticket pricing being a really important consideration there, and have things like having a low sensory space as well. So I guess a bigger organisation, the Tasmanian Symphony, they've been doing things like relaxed performance for a while now. And they also, I guess, as a sector leader, they're one of the biggest and most well-funded arts organisations on the island. They do a series of capacity building activities across the state. And they had one focused on access and inclusion last year, a workshop series, which was really good. So yeah, I get really excited when I see, I guess, some of our leaders in arts organisations, wanting to champion this and encourage others to kind of get on board as well. On the next slide, I've just got a couple of different images of some of the things I've been talking about: the Mona Tunnel, the relaxed session at Winter Feast, some accessible signage from the Unconformity, and that quiet space out the front of Winter Feast. Be very curious to know if it was there this year. That's good if it was. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about this current project that Amalia and I are working on for Arts Tasmania now. You're right. I think that things, can ebb and flow in terms of funding priorities. This was something I know has been on Arts Tasmania's kind of wish list for several years, and they were lucky to get they pushed for a budget commitment with your ironically your last election about a year ago. I know you're going into another one very soon. So they sort of, through a budget bid process, got some funding to do an access and inclusion related project. So this is something that I'll be leading with Arts Tasmania and in partnership with the University of Tasmania as well. And essentially the idea behind it is really wanting to upskill and build capacity in arts organisations and artists on the island. As an access consultant based in Sydney, I was sort of a bit surprised that I was getting calls from clients in Tassie sort of wanting to do projects. And I think it really highlighted the fact that there isn't an arts and disability peak body here in Tassie, and we don't have a current functional national peak body. So I think I was filling some of the gaps, and I'm really had a good chat to Arts Tas saying we need to build confidence and skills in people working in arts organisations here to embed access and inclusion into their work. So we're wanting to do that through giving them some tools, some resources, getting them to talk to each other. I'm constantly surprised here in Tassie that the access person at the symphony orchestra doesn't know the access person at 10 Days on the Island. And so part of this project will be to make sure that they all have an opportunity to kind of meet and connect and work with each other. And we'll be kind of doing a series of different things in the lead up to an event we'll be having early next year. So at the moment, we're sort of just in the kind of end of the design phase of this project. And then in September, we'll be kicking off our kind of capacity building and skills development kind of project with some training that Rosie and I will be delivering in September around accessible marketing and communications. And there'll be a series of training and educational sessions that happen in the last 4 months of this year. And then we'll be having a forum at the Hedberg in Hobart in early February next year, where we get hopefully as many arts and cultural organisations and artists from across the island to come together to talk all things access and inclusion. So we've been doing a lot of stakeholder engagement through this project. So a lot of talking to organisations about what their needs are, and also trying to talk to as many disabled artists as we can find as well. We're sort of creating a list of the disabled artists that we're aware of that we can find on the island. I'm always keen to hear about more if anyone knows of more people that that would be interested in talking with us. Trying to do some advocacy work through this project as well. So I've got a meeting with the Disability Commissioner tomorrow. I'm going to make sure she signs up for your next Hobart meetup. And it's been really wonderful to work with Amalia locally to help deliver this project as well. So the kind of next phase we're moving into is some one-on-one organisational support for multi-year funded organisations that are supported through Arts Tasmania. So I've been starting on that support this week, talking with organisations based in Hobart before heading north in a month or two. And we have a training program now confirmed. So we will make sure that we send when we've got our comms out about this, we'll send it to you guys in case you'd like to join us. But these will be free training sessions that we'll be running through Arts Tasmania in September, October, November and December. And some of the topics that we'll be covering will be accessible marketing, comms and all things digital access with Rosie and myself. Then we'll have a session from Laura Sheedy, who's an amazing theatre maker and neurodiversity advocate. She'll be running a session on neurodivergence in the workplace with a kind of arts sector lens. I'll be doing some sort of general disability inclusion session in November. And then in December, we'll be doing a session around how to best work with and support disabled artists through your programming. So yeah, we're really looking forward to delivering those. We'll also be launching a resource hub at some point in the next few months as well. There are so many resources out there in the world around accessibility already that we all know. We're going to try and put together a comprehensive / hopefully not overwhelming list of useful starting point tools, which will be housed on the Arts Tas website. So we're sort of collating a bunch of those at the moment. If there's anything you'd love to see on that resource hub, please let us know. And the next thing is this kind of sector gather forum, which will be in that first week of February. We have many kind of hopes and dreams for what we want that event to be. The feedback that we are getting from the organisations and artists we've spoken with so far is we really want to use it as an opportunity for connection and relationship building. We want all of the Tasmanian arts organisations to know all of the amazing disabled artists that are in Tasmania, so collaborations can be forged and people can work together more. We also want to make sure that disabled artists, that are interested know who else is out there, because I think some of what we've heard through working with our steering committee is that it can be quite isolating as a disabled artist in Tassie. So wanting to try and build a community of practice and a network of those that are interested as well. So we'll send you some more information about that when it's available. And there's also kind of ongoing sector engagement. Oh, sorry. Yes.
Honor here. What's classified as an artist?
Oh, well.
That's
a very deep and meaningful question for a Wednesday night, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right. Because obviously I'm in audio space and radio and podcasting. Are they artists in this kind of?
Well, they're certainly welcome.
world?
They're certainly welcome in terms of the events and things that we'll be running. And I think you raise a great point. I don't love kind of, boundaries and labels and things so much, and I think the lines are blurring so much in the arts and culture sector anyway, as we cross art forms. Arts is working so much with screen now as well, so you are welcome as far as I'm concerned. But yeah, great question. There's also some amazing ongoing kind of sector engagement happening in the arts sector in this space at the moment. Amalia has been leading through Contemporary Art Tasmania, an inclusive arts network, which is quarterly. Yes, amazing. And Rosie presented at the last session, and it's a great opportunity for people interested in access and inclusion in the arts to come together, to share, to find out what other people are doing, get good ideas from each other. So if that's something that anyone on the call is interested in, again, let us know and we'll sign you up to that. And yeah, we've been lucky to work with some great kind of partners and collaborators through this work as well. We've got a great champion at the University of Tasmania and the arts faculty, Kane Chennant, and he's really keen to see Arts Tas do some more in this space and also open up access and inclusion in art spaces like the Hedberg and also the gallery that they have, what's it called again? Plimsoll. Yeah, the Plimsoll Gallery. So I know they're really interested in kind of looking at how they can do more around access and inclusion. And yeah, Performing Lines, Second Echo, there's some key partners as well. And I think we're sort of coming up to the end. I know it's nearly pizza time. So yeah, we've got lots of things coming up, and basically we're just going to share them with you, hopefully, Rosie, if we can, when the time comes. And I think on that note, I'm just going to wrap and say, does anyone have any questions, any thoughts or ideas or anything you'd like to share with us that we might be able to build into this project